بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين. I start in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I send praises and salutations for the divine messenger Muhammad and upon all of the messengers that preceded him. So before I begin, I would like to give a brief introduction to my journey into academia and religious studies, etc., as it's quite relevant to the topic of this evening, mental health. And so, as was mentioned, I spent the majority of my adult life studying in Medina, the birthplace of Islam, the final abode and resting place of the last and final messenger Muhammad. And I spent roughly a decade there, 10 years studying Islam according to the traditional methods of study, studying the classical course of fiqh, i.e. Islamic law, theology, language, the interpretation of the Quran, and so on and so forth. And it's relevant to this evening because when I came back, I took up a position as an Imam, and I noticed that the classical books and the classical methodology of learning and teaching, etc., was not necessarily relevant to the times that we find ourselves in today. And perhaps many teachers may find that this is the case with the younger generation, the newer generation. Classical texts, although they are rich and full of wealth and tradition, and they are very much relevant, they sometimes need to be reformulated so that they can be digested by a new generation. And I also found that there was a new problem emerging within my local community, i.e. the Muslim community, in Southeast London and in East London, as that's where I currently reside. And that problem was a problem of mental health. And mental health is a topic which I think needs to be further discussed. Personally, from the perspective of Islam, from the perspective of an Imam, from the perspective of someone who has studied a tradition that is rooted in connecting man to God, I don't necessarily like to use the term mental health, and I'll explain further shortly. And so, due to the need of the community, the head Imam there, he suggested and he pushed and he encouraged that I go and study counseling. And so I studied counseling. I studied the person-centered approach to counseling for roughly 2.5 years. And to be honest, I was not impressed. Although I didn't agree with much of what I was studying, and in brief, what I found that I agreed with was how to be a human. The crux of it was how to be a human. We were being taught how to listen, but should we not already know how to listen to each other? We were taught how to speak respectfully, how to show empathy, how to let someone know that we can hear them and understand what they're saying. But is that not what it means to simply be a human? And as I said, I wasn't really too impressed. And there's a reason for that, which I'll come to. And I started to take an interest in CBT. So for those that do not know what CBT is, cognitive behavioral therapy. And so I went on to study CBT. I carried out a master's degree in CBT in Goldsmith University in Southeast London. And although I did agree with some of what I was studying, I was still left feeling a level of wanting more. I wasn't entirely impressed with what I was studying. And I benefited from what I studied. It's not to dismiss it. But again, this is subjective. Why? Because I'm speaking from the perspective of someone who has spent over 10 years studying Islam and trying to deepen my own understanding of what Islam is. I felt something is missing. And I would often debate with lecturers. And sometimes those debates would spill out into class, and then they would become discussions. We would spend an entire session, hour, 2-hour session in university discussing. My problem is with CBT, unfortunately for them. My problem is with the person-centered approach. And to summarize the problems that I had, the focus of the person-centered approach and CBT is an individualistic focus. You are focusing and dealing with one person sitting in front of you. So as an example, you have a young man who comes and he's dealing with the pressures of society, the difficulties of home, peer pressure perhaps. Perhaps it could be poverty. There could be an array of issues that a young person today is facing, and you're supposed to sit with that person and help this person work through their problems without dealing with what's outside the window. Without dealing with what's outside the window. And you cannot address a problem if you do not address the root of the problem. And you do not address the underlying issues that are leading to these problems, which was touched upon earlier. For one, materialism. Materialism has become, from the perspective of Islam, of course, and you are all my guests, although I am your guest, you are all my guests in the month of Ramadan, and so I can speak a bit about the perspective of mental health from Islam. Materialism. Does it give you contentment? Success. What does it mean to be successful? Happiness, a term that we often hear used daily, weekly. If you go online, you'll find people that are pretending to be happy. What does happiness mean exactly? And so all of these terms we use. What does the term mental health mean? What is good mental health? Who decides and determines what good mental health is? And so these questions left me, as I said earlier, unimpressed. And I decided to think a little bit outside the box for myself. And the conclusion I arrived at, as a practicing Muslim, someone who is serving a Muslim community, the conclusion I arrived at is many of the problems in society today, the so-called mental health problems, are a symptom of a larger issue. And that larger issue can also be found popping its head up in political debates, in identity debates, and so on and so forth. What is that issue? It's the issue of not having a coherent framework that we abide by and we can call our own and we can turn to in times of need and in times of question. As I said, what does good mean? What does bad mean? What does right mean? What does wrong mean? How do I determine these things if I don't have a framework to go back to? And in mental health today, that's something which is unfortunately not clear. It's not clear. And if it's not clear for those that are practicing and those that are studying, it's definitely not clear for those who are young. And so as those who are responsible for the youth, we have to think about our role in the problems that our youth are facing, i.e. mental health. And I said I don't like the term mental health because I believe from the perspective of Islam, from the perspective of a traditional religion, the issues are issues of spirituality. They are spiritual issues, not mental issues. They are spiritual health issues. Within Islam, we have a concept. Our Prophet Muhammad, he said that there is a morsel of flesh in the body. If it is upright, the entire body will be upright. If it is corrupt, the entire body will be corrupt. And he said it is the heart. If the heart is sound, the mind will be sound, and the body will be sound. If the heart has problems, the mind will have problems, and the body will have problems. And if we simply look to what we are feeding our hearts today, with digital media, with the food that we're eating, processed food, high sugar, high salt. Balance was a word that was used recently. And I agree totally. And that's what Islam is about. Mental health in Islam, i.e. good mental health in Islam, comes from a healthy lifestyle. And a healthy lifestyle is a balanced lifestyle. And a key component within the framework of Islam for a balanced lifestyle is to have a clear connection to the creator, the maker, the sustainer. And when you have that clear connection to the creator, the sustainer, the maker, as was mentioned previously, you find relief in your life in times of difficulty because you realize you're not in control. When you are impoverished, you realize He is the one who provides. When you are sad, you realize He is the one who relieves and alleviates. And so, my belief and my conclusion, as an individual and as a representative of a faith, a strong faith in the UK, I believe a growing strong faith in the UK. I was just telling some of the guests here, yesterday we had 7 new Muslims in our masjid in Lewisham. 7 new Muslims yesterday. Today, just before I came, I was delayed slightly because we had a new Muslim. Last 2-3 weeks ago, we had 14 new Muslims. So young people are coming to Islam, and they're embracing Islam, and they're recognizing the need for a connection to who we call Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, their creator, and that's what is giving them a sense of relief, a sense of balance. And so, from the perspective of Islam, the key to sound mental health is to have a sound relationship with our Creator and our Maker. And in order to have a sound relationship with our Creator and our Maker, we have to understand what He wants from us. And in order to understand what He wants from us, we have to seek out education. And I personally am empowered when I see young faces proud of Islam, proud of their identity, standing up on stage and reciting the Quran with proficiency and eloquency. That's an amazing thing. And it's an amazing contribution to society that the school is producing such confident young people and giving them the space to clearly be who they are without inhibiting them from expressing themselves and supporting them in that process. I thank you for having me, and I thank you for taking your time to listen to me. Assalamu alaikum.